Hey beauties, and welcome back to my channel. I am wearing the same outfit that you probably saw me wear in the last video, and that's because I'm really trying to film a lot more and trying to really knock out some videos and do some like pre-recording and things like that when I'm really feeling good. So yeah. So I am going to be doing my brows today and gonna try to go from there and really start doing more tutorial based videos. That's kind of what I'm known for on my Facebook and kind of what I've been doing for the last like 2 to 3 years on Facebook. I really love kind of teaching people things. I've really done this for a lot of years and as much as I love doing like unboxings and I really want to do a lot of fun things, I really want to teach things as well. That's kind of where I'm most comfortable at, I guess you could say. So my base is done. I do have foundation on, and I always do my foundation anyway, so I thought it was a good segue into doing my brows. So I always do my foundation first. I kind of do like my contour and stuff as well, and then I move into my brows, and then I go back to my face and then back to my eyes. I do my makeup kind of weird, I think, from the way other people do theirs. So I'm just gonna jump right in, and I did not set out a spoolie, so give me 2 seconds. And I keep like a million of these like little throwaway spoolies, and I always kind of bend my spoolies even if they're like on an actual like brow pencil. I just do. The way that I hold them, personal preference, whatever you're comfortable with. I absolutely love the Benefit Precisely My Brow Pencil, and then there's a brand YBF. I know I've mentioned this before, I'm sure, but YBF, your best friend, their brow pencil is so amazing. I'm not sure if they're only sold on HSN or if HSN is still a channel. If it is, I'm so sorry, HSN. But that is like the best brow pencil I ever tried, ever. Of course, like It Cosmetics has an amazing one. I love the L'Oreal Brow Stylist Definer one. The Maybelline one is a really good brow product from drugstore. And then recently I discovered, and I'm very pleasantly surprised, and I've been using this now for probably a week maybe. But this is the Ulta Beauty Ultra Slim Brow Pencil, and I am using the brunette. This thing is amazing, and I want to say it was maybe $10, $10 or $12, so very inexpensive also. And to me, Ulta Beauty products, I consider them like drugstore brand. You can go into any Ulta or order from Ulta online, and I feel like it's the same price as like going to, Walgreens or CVS. So I always will brush my brows up, and let me get my mirror a little closer. We know mama's blind, y'all. I will brush my brows up, what little bit I have. Thank you, 90s. And then I always, for me, and I feel like brows are so personal, and I never see like a whole lot of people, especially on YouTube, do their brows. Like everybody does them off camera, and I'm like, dude, we want to see what you're doing. We know they're personal, and I get that, but I feel like nobody ever does them. So I feel like a really good rule of thumb for brow mapping, and I know we all kind of tweak that to our own, I guess, personal preference. I always say that you can start at the base of your nose and then kind of fan the pencil out, or however you're gonna, do it, whatever tool you're gonna use. And you can kind of fan it out from your nose. And I really feel like as long as you kind of follow those 3 basic points, you're gonna get a really good brow, and you're gonna get pretty symmetrical brows. So you can start at 1 or 2 places. You can really start here, and you can start at the center of your nostril here, or at the side of the bridge of your nose, and come straight up and put a dot right there. And I don't normally put a dot here, but just to show people. Or you can start actually at the outside part of your nose for all 3 lines that you're going to use. Now you can swing straight in and come up at the hollow. Now the hollow of your eye is right here where it creates the shadow. So if you really don't want to like, come here, come here, come here, you can literally start at the outside of your nose and do all 3 points. So start at the outside of your nose and swing in at the hollow and come straight up, and you're going to create that line at the same exact place. If you start at the outside corner of your nose and swing out to the center of your eye, you're going to come up here, and that's where you're going to create where your arch should be at. If you start at the outside corner of your nose and come all the way out to the outside corner of your eye, that is where your brow should end. And you can create actual lines if you need to. And then you're going to do that on both sides. And that's kind of a general rule of thumb for brow mapping. So again, you can come straight up the center of the nostril or the center of the bridge of the nose, and that will be where your first line will go. Or you can start all 3 points for your brow mapping at your actual outside part of your nose. If you start at the outside and come in at the hollow of the eye, come at the center of the eye up to the arch, and then at the outside corner of the eye, that will be where your tail will be. If you do that on both eyes and then kind of follow the line, so to speak, top and bottom, and then fill it in when where you're sparse at, you have a pretty good guideline. And then whether you use a pencil, a pomade, a powder, a gel, personal preference. I personally feel like, and then as someone who does makeup on other people, I really feel like pencil is the way to go, especially for beginners, especially for people who maybe have dexterity issues, who are uncomfortable using brushes, don't know how to hold brushes, don't know how much powder to put on a brush, how much, pomade to put on a brush. Those types of products, unless you're used to them, they can be really hard to work with. So again, I'm just going to start first and foremost. I'm going to start where I know I need to add some hairs because, yeah, the 90s didn't like me. Let's just be real. We're just going to be real here. That's what it's all about. It's just being real. You know what I'm saying? Just being real. Just being real. Hold on, y'all. Let me get this mirror. Let's get this mirror adjusted. Okay, get the mirror adjusted. I'm scared. Okay. I had to break out the big guns. Okay. So, first and foremost, this is kind of hard to do without my little tiny mirror all up in my face. So nice, soft, feathery strokes, always. You don't ever want to come in with a heavy hand. Not a good look, first of all. And then it's always easier to kind of build up the brow than it is to keep trying to soften the brow. So nice, soft, feathery strokes to start with. And then I kind of spoolie as I'm going. And then I'm going to start my bottom define line. And then I'm going to do my top define line. And then literally just fill in wherever it needs to be filled in at. And then you want to follow the direction of the growth of the hair as well. And again, nice soft feathery strokes. And I'm definitely a fan of more natural brows for myself. I literally just want to give myself kind of what I don't have. I don't like a really squared off brow. Again, it's, brows are so personal. It's really, this is more me just kind of saying, giving the basics, I guess. And again, I'm going to kind of spoolie as I go. So literally already you can kind of see where I'm going and kind of how I'm building up the shape of my brow. So I'm going to build it up to the arch. And then very, very softly build up that tail. And I don't really have to extend my tail very much on this side. I do have to extend it just a little bit on my left side. So that's kind of the general shape that I'm going for. And then I'm going to spoolie it down. We want everybody at the same party. And then exactly what I just did here, I'm doing the same thing on the top. I'm just going to define the top and then just fill everything in. Now here I will go a little bigger than I kind of need to, because I really like to kind of clean it up and create that shape that I like as far as on the outside part, inside part. And the thing that I like the most about using a pencil too, which I mean any brow product is going to kind of find your natural hairs and kind of grab them for you, is that as you're kind of following this line down, the product is going to kind of find your hairs. Like even hairs that you maybe are not seeing, the brow product is going to kind of find those hairs for you. And the brow is always going to be a lot more thick, a lot more kind of dense. through this part of the brow versus through right here. It's always going to be a little bit more soft through this part, through the front part of the brow, than it is through any other part of the brow. Now I'm just going to kind of spoolie everything through for a second. And spooling just, it's going to kind of start softening everything. It's going to make sure that all the hairs are facing in the same direction. So right now I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for the basic shape that I like in my brow, because we're going to obviously go through with concealer and we're going to clean up the brow and really get that defined shape that we want. Now I like to use a combination of using the pencil and then going through the front part of the brow with a powder. So this brow, until I get to the powder, is done, and we're going to go over to this side. So same exact thing. I'm going to kind of give myself those few brows right here at the front that I know that I need. And I am working on growing these brows out. It's kind of a pain. Like, whoever in the 90s decided that super skinny brows and overplugging was a good idea. Yeah, it wasn't a good idea. And I kind of like step back a little bit, or kind of lean back into the mirror and stuff like that, and take a pencil, take whatever you have that's straight, and kind of see, you know, make sure I'm like halfway symmetrical during the process. And then same exact thing. I'm just going to kind of walk it up very softly, nice soft feathery strokes. Up into the arch. And then building that tail up just ever so softly. And then walking it down. And then on this side, obviously I do have to extend my tail just a little bit. And I extend more outwards than downward, especially having more hooded lids. I really feel like that gives me just a little bit more lid space to kind of work with, as opposed to it coming like straight down. And again, we're just going to kind of make sure that it's coming out as far as it needs to come out. And I think overall my shape is going to be okay. And we're going to move up to the top. Again, brush everybody down, make sure everybody's at the same party. And again, on top, it's going to come out a little too far. It's going to be a little too big to start with. And that's kind of a good rule of thumb too. Like, start bigger. I mean, don't start so big that, you know, they're this big and then you got to clean it up, clean it up, clean it up. But for myself, I really try to make sure that like the bottom is pretty good and is like pretty much where I want it to be. And then the top is like almost there, but big enough that I really kind of clean this area up and then kind of fill it in with the powder and stuff like that. It all makes sense. Just trust me, just trust the process. Again, going with the direction of this hair here. And then I'm going to kind of gently spoolie everything out. I'm going to brush these hairs back up. And then I'm going to fill in what I can with the pencil, and then fill in this front area with the powder. And then once I clean everything up, it's really going to come together and it's really going to make sense. I'm trying to make sure that you can really see what I'm doing. Again, following the growth of the hair. And then again, I'm going to kind of step back and make sure that I'm pretty symmetrical as far as, you know, they're centered and stuff like that. I'm going to set the pencil down for just a second. And I have this Acetica brush. It's a little larger than I like to use, but I do like that it's a little bit more firm and angled. But really any like firm angled brush that you like to use. And this is the Brow Palette. It has 3 different shades, and I like this because you can use it dry or wet. And I literally just come right in here and just very softly start to build up the front of the brow, just where I am sparse at. And again, I kind of always step back. Like, you never want to be like all up on your mirror, and then when you step back, you're like, oh, didn't realize it was looking like that. And I'm going to go into my Maybelline Fit Me concealer, put a little bit on the back of my hand, and then go just into a standard concealer brush. This one's from Eco Tools, whatever you have. And I load up just the tips of the brush. I always start by cleaning the inner part of the brow and then the top of the brow, and then clean up the bottom part of the brow. And again, this is your, you know, your chance and the time to just clean up the brow, really etch it out and carve it out to your liking. And I always kind of take the brow. Again, I don't like a super squared off brow. I like a softer kind of inner part to the brow. And I always kind of clean it up and bring it in towards, I actually take my brush into kind of the inner hollow of the eye right here. Very softly. And then I'm going to follow the top part of the brow across very softly again. And I'm also not a fan of using a shit ton of product across the top of the brow. I don't like that really, like, I guess mask, like a you know, very white mask of concealer across the top of the brow. That is just personal preference. And then I'm going to walk it down and then clean up my tail as well. I also am not a fan of using like my Shape Tape for carving out my brows. I feel like it's too thick in the texture and it dries much too fast for me to be able to use, and it also like makes my skin on top of my brows get a little bit too kind of patchy and flaky. For me, I don't like it. So as you can see, when I back up, it's really starting to come together. I'm going to get a little bit more concealer. I always love like when it really starts to come together. You know, like when you are getting towards the end of your look, when you're getting ready to put your lipstick on and, you know, your highlighter's on and you're at the very last kind of couple seconds and you're getting ready to put that lipstick on and you're starting to feel yourself in a look, you know what I mean? Like, so same thing that we just did on the top. We're just cleaning it up. And again, this is personal preference, however thick or thin, whatever shape you like. You know, if you like a very exaggerated arch, then do an exaggerated arch. If you don't do it. And I'm gonna look one more time. I want to make sure that I'm symmetrical. And I think overall, I'm happy with the shape. I'm happy with how they look. And I'm gonna spoolie them up. And then I'm gonna take my little beauty blender, whatever you have. I like to really press the center part right here. Again, I don't like for it to look really, really harsh. And then I also want to kind of blend out everything right through here. Sometimes I've noticed that it will pull up my foundation a little bit. If it does that, or you feel like it's not blending in well enough, you can take a little bit of foundation and press right back over that. Take a little bit of pressed powder, whatever you may have. And again, I just really like to make sure that this is a little bit more softened out. I don't like it to look really harsh. And then I always will set my brows, and I just have the Cella, and this is just a clear brow gel. You can buy clear mascara from the Dollar Tree for $1. And I love doing brows, even if I don't wear any makeup at all, like zero makeup. I love doing my brows. Brows just really frame the face. They lift the face. They lift the eyes. They make us look more awake. I do notice that it lifted my foundation just a little bit, putting that concealer on. It will be okay. So that is it. That is how I do my brows. I feel like I could kind of touch this little area up a little bit. But again, you know, it is always 100% personal preference. I feel like, again, we all, you know, brows I feel like are the most personal thing on our faces. You know, like with a lip, you know, we either like a gloss, a lipstick, or we like a matte lippy, you know, and, you know, somebody likes bold colors or they like nudes. You know, you either like a peachy or a pinky or a corally blush, you know, but with brows, they're very, very, very personal. Everybody likes a completely different style, a different shape, you know, something that's bold, something that's, you know, they're a very personal thing. But I feel like these steps, or this kind of, you know, a particular way of kind of starting the brow out works for everybody. And then you can kind of intensify them. You can go thicker or thinner, more bold, you know, darker, lighter, you know, based on your personal preferences. So I truly appreciate you watching. If you like this video at all, then please give me a thumbs up and subscribe down below. If you hit that notification bell, I'd be even more grateful. And remember, be your own best beautiful. I'll see you next time.